Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into a topic today that's, well, let's face it, always on our minds, money. But get this, we're not talking about the usual stock tips or how to get rich quick.
Yeah, this is different. We're actually exploring this book, Happy Money by Ken Honda. And it's really not your typical financial advice.
Totally. It's more about our feelings about money. Honda actually calls it a living, breathing energy. I mean, how intriguing is that?
Okay, I'm intrigued, but how does he explain that?
Well, he starts with this story about what he calls the mysterious wallet woman.
Okay, now you have to tell me more.
So picture this, right? Honda's at a restaurant, and this woman, she insists on paying.
All right, a little unusual, but go on.
Right. But here's the thing. She starts going through his wallet. Not for credit cards, though. She's sorting through the bills.
All right, seriously.
Yeah. And get this. She's touching each one, saying things like, this one's okay, this one's good, like she's sensing something.
Wow, okay, that's wild. Makes you think about, what kind of energy do we associate with money? Is it excitement, stress, maybe even guilt for some people?
And Honda, he had this realization as she was holding his money. He realized he'd always been paid by people who were genuinely happy with his work, grateful even. So it got him thinking, could that happiness, that gratitude, could it actually be in the money itself?
Interesting. It's like our emotions, when we earn or spend, maybe they get imprinted on the money itself.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper than that. Honda believes our past experiences, even stuff from our parents or grandparents, creates this money blueprint in us.
And that blueprint, it affects how we deal with money without us even realizing it.
He tells this story about a client, super wealthy, but terrified of losing it all. Turns out he'd experienced poverty as a kid, and that fear, it never left him.
Makes you think, right? Our money habits, they're not always logical. They're tied to our past, our emotions.
Yeah.
What about your upbringing? Did your family talk about money? Were you taught to save or to be more generous? All that shapes how we are now.
And you know what's interesting? Honda has these money personality types. He's got the compulsive savers, the spendthrifts, even money-making addicts, gamblers, and worriers. I mean, come on, everyone listening right now probably knows someone who fits at least one of those.
Oh, absolutely. And he's got these spot-on examples for each one. Like, he talks about the person who buys a car without even having their license, just because it was a steal.
Or how about the coupon hoarder who then blows their savings on a random splurge? It's relatable, but also makes you cringe a little, right?
For sure. And I think that's the point. He's pushing us to look inward and be like, wait, is that me? That self-awareness is so key to breaking bad habits, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. When you see those patterns, those tendencies that aren't working, that's when you can actually start to change, right?
Exactly. It's about understanding the why behind our actions. And for Honda, a big part of that transformation is this concept of marrow up, something he learned from his own mentor, Wahei Takeda.
Okay, marrow up. Tell me more about this.
So it's about approaching life, and by extension money, from a place of genuine gratitude and abundance, even, and this is important, even when money is flowing out.
So it's like you're sending it off with good vibes, hoping it does good things.
Exactly. And there's this amazing story about Wahei's candy company that really illustrates this. Wahei ran one of the largest candy companies in Japan, and he was convinced that the secret ingredient to his success was positive energy.
Okay, I have to ask, what kind of positive energy are we talking about here?
Specifically, the energy of arigato, which means thank you in Japanese. In Wahei's factory, while the workers were making candy, they would play recordings of children singing arigato.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. So the whole production process was infused with gratitude.
And this wasn't just some marketing ploy. This marrow-up idea, this recognizing abundance and expressing gratitude, it was at the core of Wahei's entire life.
It really makes you think, what would happen if we all actively practiced this marrow-up philosophy? Could we shift our focus from always wanting more to appreciating what we already have?
It's a tough one, right? Because we're constantly bombarded with, you need this, you need that. It's tough to be content when you're being told you need more all the time. But Honda's point is that shift from scarcity to gratitude. That's key if you want to be happy, especially when it comes to money.
And he talks about this money game idea, which I thought was interesting. We compare ourselves to others and end up feeling like we're never wealthy enough.
Oh, it's a game you can't win. There's always going to be someone with a bigger house, nicer car, whatever. It's never ending. And get this, Honda says even multimillionaires, they often don't feel rich.
Wait, seriously, I mean, I know it's relative, but with millions.
Right. You'd think. But it's that comparison trap. There's always someone with more, so it creates this feeling of not enough, even when objectively you've got plenty.
So then what do we do? How do you get out of that mindset?
Well, Honda throws out this radical idea. What if we change the game entirely? Instead of success being about your bank account, what if it's about how you feel, what you contribute, the joy in your life?
So focusing on what actually matters. Building a life that's fulfilling on its own, not just about chasing dollars.
Exactly, because often when you're passionate, using your gifts, making a difference, the money, it kind of follows naturally. It's a byproduct, not the end goal.
Like that old saying, do what you love and the money will come.
Exactly. And this sort of circles back to the money blueprints we were talking about earlier. Honda argues that once you understand where your beliefs, your habits around money, where they came from, it can be incredibly freeing.
Okay, so how do we figure out our blueprint? Where do we even start?
He suggests looking at your family history. Talk to your parents, grandparents if you can. Ask them about their experiences with money. What were their struggles, their successes, any lessons they learned along the way?
You know, he tells a story about a client really haunted by his family's poverty during the Depression. Even though he became super successful financially, there was always that underlying fear of losing it all.
It shows you, right, how powerful those beliefs are. Passed down for generations, they stick with us even when the circumstances have changed.
So by understanding our family's money story, we can separate those inherited beliefs from what we actually value and want for ourselves.
Yes, it's about taking control of your own narrative around money. And once you see the patterns, you can start to rewire them, adopt new beliefs that fit who you are, not just who your family was.
It's like you're rewriting your financial DNA or something, breaking free from those old patterns.
That's a great way to put it. And Honda, he doesn't just leave it there. He gets into how people actually engage with money, with those money personality types we touched on before.
Right. The compulsive saver, the spendthrift. He had money-making addicts, even the gamblers and worriers in there. Those were so accurate, I have to say.
People really connect with them. And they're a useful tool for understanding those like automatic behaviors we might have around money.
Let's break down a few. What about the compulsive saver? What are they like?
Oh, they are all about saving every penny. Always hunting for the best deal, clipping coupons, you name it. Their security comes from seeing that savings account grow, even if it means they don't enjoy life as much in the present.
Oh, yeah. I know a few people like that. Always got to get a bargain.
Exactly. And then you've got the opposite end of the spectrum, the spendthrift.
Ah, yes, the spendthrift. Tell me about them.
They're all about instant gratification. Love to spend, often without thinking, and they really struggle to delay gratification. Might have some debt issues because that instant pleasure, it outweighs long-term goals.
Living in the moment, for better or worse, right?
Right. And then there's the money-making addict.
This one's always fascinated me. Tell me more about them.
The money-making addict, they're driven by the pursuit of wealth above everything else. Always looking for the next opportunity, the next deal. Money represents success to them, maybe even power.
Sounds like it could become an actual addiction, constantly chasing that next win.
You got it. And then, of course, you've got the gambler and the worrier, often combinations of those other types.
Right, the gambler, always up for a risk if there's a big reward.
Exactly. They love the excitement, the potential for a huge win, but of course, the potential for big losses, too.
And the worrier, I'd imagine money is pretty stressful for them no matter how much they have.
Absolutely. They're always anxious about money. Losing their job, unexpected bills, not having enough for retirement. That fear really drives their decisions.
Sounds like their money blueprint is all about fear, insecurity.
Often, yeah. But the important thing to remember is none of these types are inherently good or bad. They're just different approaches, each with its own strengths and weaknesses.
And once you know your own tendencies, you can be more intentional, right? Make conscious choices instead of just reacting automatically.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what Honda's getting at. Real financial freedom isn't about how much is in your account, but about having a healthy relationship with money. One that's based on gratitude, trust, and knowing your own values.
And he gives us tools to build that, to cultivate that happy money mindset. I thought the whole Marrow Up thing was really interesting.
Right, and to dig a little deeper into Marrow Up, it's about approaching life, and therefore money, with this sense of gratitude and abundance, realizing there's already so much to be thankful for, even when you're spending.
So how do we actually do Marrow Up in our everyday lives? What are some practical ways to practice that kind of gratitude?
It's funny, right? We've been talking about all this stuff from Happy Money, and I'm realizing how much of the stress around money is just that feeling there's not enough.
It's everywhere. That scarcity mindset. Work harder, earn more, buy more. Like it never ends. And honestly, it's exhausting.
Totally. But Honda, he's asking us to question that, right? Like, what if there actually is enough? Maybe abundance is the natural state, not scarcity.
It's a big shift, for sure. But he argues that, look, we're living in a time with more technology, resources, information than ever before.
It's true. Like, we have so much, but we're stuck with these old ideas about scarcity. Exactly. And those beliefs, that's what keeps us in that fear-based cycle, always feeling like we're lacking something.
Okay, so then how do we get out of that? How do you shift to a more abundant way of thinking?
Starts with recognizing that real security, it doesn't come from money alone. It's about relationships, trust, and knowing you are already enough.
That sense of security from people, purpose, all of that, not just your bank balance.
Right. Having strong connections with family, friends, community, knowing that no matter what your finances look like, you've got support.
Shifting from worrying about how much do I have to what really fulfills me. Building a life with meaning, purpose, and then the money becomes a reflection of that, not the source.
Exactly. It changes your whole perspective. You're more at ease with money, more grateful, generous.
It's not about chasing happy money, but about living a life so good that happy money just naturally shows up.
I like that. And, you know, Honda also talks about those unique gifts we all have, talents, abilities that maybe we're not using or even recognizing.
He tells the story about himself, actually. He discovered his passion for writing in his 30s, something he'd never even thought about before.
And his point is, those gifts, they often pop up when we finally decide we're in charge of our own happiness. When we stop looking for external validation and just trust ourselves.
It's like they've been there all along, just waiting for the right moment.
Exactly. And when we develop those gifts, share them with the world, use them to make a positive impact, well, we not only benefit ourselves, but the world benefits too.
It's like finding that sweet spot, right? Where your passion, your talents, and your desire to make a difference, they all come together.
And honestly, when you're coming from that place of authenticity, money often just flows. It's not the goal, but it's a natural result of you being you.
The ultimate happy money, right? Using what you have to support the work that lights you up, that brings you joy, that helps others.
It's about flipping the script. Scarcity to abundance, fear to trust, chasing to attracting. We are already enough, and we can create lives full of purpose, joy, and yes, financial well-being.
So to wrap up this deep dive, the question is this. What if, instead of chasing happiness through money, we focused on creating a life so good that happy money just finds us?
It's something to think about for sure. Can we step off that treadmill of always needing more? Can we trust ourselves, our gifts, and embrace the abundance that's already here? Maybe happy money isn't something we chase after all. Maybe it's what naturally happens when we align with our true purpose and realize that we already have everything we need.